Hey, Carl here with another coffee break. Today, I think this is the third or fourth coffee break, and what I want to do today is I want to do a book review of Lacrae's new book, Restoration. Now, um, the book overall was a great book. For those of you, it talks a lot about race in the book. For those of you who care to try to understand what black people are dealing with in this nation. This can be a great book for you. I try to understand. I try to grow and gain knowledge on the subject. Um, but yeah, this is a great book. Stay tuned. Let me give you a review of the book, and hopefully you can go get it for yourself. All right. So Lacrae Restoration. I paid $18 um, online on Amazon for the book. I got the audiobook. Lacrae narrates it himself. He reads the book to you. It's great because then you can hear how he wants to say it. Great book. Um, and cost me 18 bucks. The only downside to using Amazon to do it though is you have to buy their app, which I'm still on the free trial. I'm gonna cancel it because I don't read books like that, but I probably should because I have an hour and 15-minute drive back and forth to work one way every single day. So it's plenty of time for me to listen to audiobooks. But anyway, that's how much the book cost. It was 17 and change, not necessarily 18, but that's how much it cost. Okay, so the book. In this book, Restoration, Lacrae gives us insight into his struggle with himself as a U.S. citizen who's a black man and with the church. This book dives headlong into how the usual situations whites deal with in the predominantly white culture differ from the way the black man sees them in the U.S. and also in the church. The book will give you a healthy understanding of the pain black people still deal with in the U.S. and sometimes will even make you mad at Lacrae himself. Okay, I'm gonna dive into more why later. Number one, so there's the book. The book was only about 4 hours and 45 minutes of actual audio time, so it's not too terribly big book, but it's great to read. All right, so number one, Lacrae goes into detail of his soul in a way only a lyrical genius, who's a rapper, obviously, he's very good with words, can, and explains motives of his heart we can all learn from because we all deal with different things in a basic way. But it's amazing if you read how he wrote it. It's so descriptive. It's so easy to understand, but at the same time, it's almost poetic. It's not poetic, but it's almost like it's poetic. It's very very good word choices, and it's easy to listen to. That's the important thing. Okay. The book is written in a very easy to understand yet beautiful way, just like his music. Okay. Number two, Lacrae goes into depth of his struggle on white America or with white America. Explains codes switching that black people often do. They have to whenever they work in the business world. Oftentimes they can't fully act black, and that is very difficult for them, and I can't fully understand. The only thing I can say is I'm a country boy, and even me, when I go to work in an electronic engineering world and computer engineering world, I can't fully act like a country boy. I cannot because people will think I'm a stupid and an idiot, and I can't say y'all and fixin', and it's just I do have to do a little code switching, but it still doesn't compare to what he deals with and what black people deal with. So he does say in the book that everyone does a little code switching. Everyone does. You have to. Okay. So I'll drink my coffee here. I love coffee on ice. All right. let's see here. And you know, when he talks about Black America and White America, it'll leave you feeling like something has to change. It really will. You know, it's tragic what's going on. And I remember years ago when I first started trying to understand uh, how Black people view the world around them compared to the white men, is because you know they'll say, and the real reason why I'm speaking this way between white and black is because Lacrae did it in the book. This is what he did. The whole book, almost the whole thing, is about race. Race in the church, race in the United States, Black Lives Matter. I mean, so I'm giving you what the book says. I wouldn't normally talk this way. But basically, you know, it'll leave you feel like you want to change America. And you know, it's just horrible what's going on. And I remember years ago, when I asked this black friend of mine, I said, "What's the, you know, why don't you feel part of the United States?" And he said, "You see that money that you have in your hand right there? Those men on that money own my people." That's just one example, but that resonated in my heart when I heard that. I was like, "Wow, I have never thought about that way before, never." All right. So, Lacrae references whites, blacks many times within the book, and to be honest, I kind of get the hint Lacrae deals with a little of his own racist demons. I do. There was one time in particular I was mad at Lacrae. I was. I mean, sometimes he goes so deep, and the way he says it when he reads it to you, sometimes I get the feeling, Lacrae, I think you're a little racist yourself. I mean, I'm honest with you. That's the way I feel sometimes. Like, man, that sometimes Lacrae would say, you know, you have to try to understand where we're coming from as black men and women. But sometimes he would do the exact same thing to white people. Sometimes he wouldn't try to understand where we're coming from. You know, it's just that's the flesh. It's the flesh. It's the world. It's tribalism. Okay. Anyway, one of the quotes he gave, which really resonated with me, was he said somebody had told him, Lacrae, don't leave the hypocrisy of one group for the hypocrisy of another. And I would say that resonates in the fact that, yes, if you're going to leave, you know, the black church or the white church for hypocrisy, you know, don't leave it and turn around and go accept the hypocrisy of another group. And that goes for accepting the racism of the black church as well. Because I know personally I have been a victim of racism from black people multiple times in my life. And one time I grew up in bad neighborhoods when I was a kid. And my mother was single mother with multiple kids. And I remember none of us kids had a father in the home. And me and my two black friends, my best friends, we hung out all the time, you know. And they were cool with me, but as soon as my dad came back in my life, when I was about 7, 8, between 7 and 12 years old, they disowned me because I was no longer one of them, because they didn't have fathers in their home, and all of a sudden my dad came back. They disowned me, and that was racist. And I didn't really figure out what happened until I became an adult, and I really understood that, wow, that was messed up. They gave hints, they would whisper behind my back, they would do mean things to me and stuff like that, and it was all because my dad came back in my life. And you know, it's really tragic, but I love them guys, and I did not understand how they could do that to me, and it caused a whole another huge problem when I was a kid. But there were fights and stuff like that and it's just, but racism doesn't only belong with the white community. It can belong with the black too. So don't leave the hypocrisy of the white people to go to the hypocrisy of also the black people. All right. Okay. So moving on here. Lacrae goes into depth both in his trouble with church members. Okay. Many times I could feel uh, remorse and pain because I too have had my trouble and struggles with church members. Lacrae's words remind me of the struggle of the Old Testament prophets and the wrestling they had with God and with his people and with themselves. And Lacrae reminds me of that. It's him being Christ-like, and I really believe that he struggles a lot with the church, and church members can be really bad in a lot of ways. Um, Facebook and social media can be the devil. We're not meant to know just how many people oppose us. We're not meant to know that. And if you do know how many people oppose you, if you start making YouTube videos or arguing with people on Facebook, church websites, and stuff like that, it can put your faith in an absolute tailspin. I mean, the darkest of the darkest. And I know because it happened to me. I nearly almost denied the faith for dealing with church members who directly opposed me. And I couldn't understand. And I mean, in many ways, it was just vicious. And that's what Lacrae's been dealing with. But not like me. I mean, on a grander scale. While millions of people, Christians, have just been tearing him to pieces on social media for years for stupid stuff. Like, if he makes a video with a mainstream rapper, even though the rapper's clean in his video, if the rapper has other secular music which is not clean, the church just rips them to pieces, and it's really sad. And he had to go into therapy, and he had to take a sabbatical, off of ministry, because it was just tearing him to pieces. And he deals with the struggle, and oftentimes he felt that the white pastors were using him to their own advantage, to get, and I'm sure that there may have been some of that, but I don't think those guys necessarily did that directly. But he felt they were using his platform rather than loving him for himself. And he really struggles a lot in the book of saying that he wants people to love him for all of who he is, all of his blackness, all of his black history, all of his black culture, and not just for his music. And so he's really wrestling a lot, and he had to go to therapy, and he had abuse when he was younger, and just pain and suffering, this sin that affects all of us when we're younger, and things that attach to us. And the book was, like I said, it was written almost like the typical Christian, the struggle of being a Christian and faithfully following God, the struggle with sin, the struggle with the devil, the struggle with our own demons, the struggle with substance abuse, whatever it may be, And it was a great book. It was a great book, and I really do, in closing, recommend that you get this book. I love Lacrae. I've listened to probably every single one of his songs. I listen to it all the time. I used to rent his CDs from the library, just blast in my truck all around town. Now I listen to him on YouTube. I don't need to go to the library for the CDs anymore. But he's a great rapper, and I think he has a voice that needs to be heard. And I think that all of the white Christian church needs to read it. And some parts will probably make you mad. But the proverb says that if you shut your ears to the cry of the poor, one day you will cry out and no one will hear you. And Lacrae's the voice of a part of this nation that is predominantly poor, a part of this nation that is oppressed. And so don't shut your ears to these people. And that's my lesson today, and that is the book And once again, the only reason why I'm talking race so much is because that's what the book is about. Okay? God bless you. Have a great day and go get this book.